There is no inflection in a text. You have no sense of what, a person puts okay and people are like, what do they mean by that? Maybe they just mean okay. I got it.
Maybe that's all they mean. Exactly.
Right. Or okay, perfect. Let's
oh my
do
gosh,
it.
she's being short with me. Look back. And I challenge people to do this. Look back on the text messages, go through and see, is that shortness any shorter than what happened when you were full of joy and, oh, I'm so in love, take a look and compare. Because honestly, if his messages go from, being a novel or a chapter, down to fine, okay, maybe you have something to feel there.
My guest today is Tia Cristy, a global communication expert, former national radio personality, and TEDx speaker whose work has reached millions. She advised C-suite executives, public figures, and leaders across the globe, even royalty, and has been recognized as one of the nation's top 7 female voices. Hi, friends. Welcome back to Call Cut with Angélique. I'm Angélique, and today I have my friend Tia back again for part 2. We had a fabulous discussion the last time, Tia and I, and we figured we would pick it up at another time, and this is the other time.
Yeah.
So, Tia, welcome back to Call Cut with Angélique.
Well, thank you.
I think this is super timing because this month and next month, I am going to be doing women empowerment, women who inspire, and have a whole lineup of really wonderful, powerful women that are out there in the world doing their thing. And that's you, obviously.
Thanks.
And all the great things that you're doing in the world. But I wanted us to go in a little bit deeper. So we got into, you help a lot of people with relationship.
I do.
And yes, and you go beyond. I mean, you're working with companies and big corporations and all of that. But I think, relationship is super important because we lose connection in the world that we're in now. We're losing it. So I was curious, how do you help people get back on track to really forming a human bond, something that is real? And not transactional and not pretentious, but real?
That's a really good question. And I think that's a really deep question. It's kind of like, what's the secret to life? But
Yeah.
I loved our last conversation because you had said several times, 2 things can be true. And I think that that's really important to understand going into anything that comes with relation. We all scroll. It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible habit that we do. It does have purpose. I try to learn things along the way, but there's a lot of mindless scrolling out there, right? And I came across this video and I have to tell you, it was funny. And I think it was meant to be funny, but it was, of course, that wonderful, inspirational coach saying, men and women, this is how you make your marriages better. This is how, you need to do it, and put down the phone and touch your wife, kind of thing. And all of a sudden, it's a duet and the woman comes in and she's like, don't touch me, and it was very funny and all of that. But I think what happens is, it's a stigma, right? So you got it on the male side, you got it on the female side. And it's this negativity that comes into a relationship, if we're talking romantic relationships, right? And it's all of a sudden the stigma happens. Everybody thinks it's, stereotypical. This is how it goes if you're going to be in a marriage. This is why, what are we up to? 60% of marriages end in divorce. That might be high, but we're getting there. And really, what it comes down to is that, yes, these things can be funny, and yes, they can have their place in moments in a relationship. But really, the core of a relationship is, being there for each other. When we can sit there and say, it's not about me, it's about the other person, and both have that mentality, nobody's getting left out. And I really love bringing that back into any kind of relationship, any business, romantic, friendships, everything like that. We all want to feel that we are important in that relationship, that we're having that validation, that we're doing a good job and things like that. But if we are really others focused, I think that we can really make that relationship that much better.
That's a great answer. It's so interesting too because scrolling and online and all of that, there's so many false perceptions of reality. Like one that I came across recently is, the there is a woman who spreads rumors about me. She loves to do this in town. And the new one is that my husband and I are getting a divorce because there's no pictures of him and me on social media.
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's a terrible, terrible, way to do it because, I think most women, um, know to kind of separate that lifestyle,
Well, you know what else too? So you have a brand. I have a brand. But the
right?
brand is us. It's not my family. My
Mhm.
family is my separate private life that I don't necessarily want exposed to the same kind of place that I am, right?
Right. Mhm.
And I go out of my way, and I've said this a million times, to protect my money, my love, and my next move. Like, I will not talk about what I'm up to and what I'm doing unless it's ready to go,
Yeah,
right?
so important.
And I find it interesting, and I'm curious as to what you think. This perception versus reality online. As a woman,
Mhm.
we're not out there saying, "Hey, looking for love,"
Right.
right?
Yeah, right. Like, I'm trying to tell you communication and you're like, "Hey."
We're
Yeah,
not, and it's so interesting
right.
because it's like nothing in my content says I'm single, I'm
Mhm.
looking, nothing. And
Right.
yet and by as I said, this was by a woman. The rumor is, "Oh, well, look, she puts pictures up on social media. She's getting a divorce. Her marriage." And, I will say this about gossip friends. Gossip is a form of witchcraft. Be careful, because what you speak on others, you bring to yourself. So
Mhm.
be very careful when you're saying not so kind things about other people's personal lives, etc. But I think it impacts people, their connections with one another, the misinformation, the inability to even know. I mean, when we were younger, you could go out and you could figure out if somebody was interested in you. There were signs.
There are signs, and there's still signs, in communication. But again, this is why people, need help on the communication front because communication is not just words. It's just not verbal. It's everything. It's your body language. It's those micro expressions. It's that eye contact that you make with somebody, and there's inviting body language. And, when we're online, there's none of that really to be seen. You see a face and you might see somebody's heart. You might see somebody. I mean, I think I see your heart when I listen to your stuff and when I read your post and stuff. Your heart is in there. And I think what's really cool is when we became friends, when we met, because we met through the social space and, then you started sharing information about your life, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know that." And I didn't know anything except what you were giving me on that social platform. And I think when people can realize that is where that line is, that boundary is, and when you can cross that, it's an honor to be able to cross that first off. But, I came from, very public life in radio, and I can't throw all my stuff out there. Like, I have to have these boundaries. I have to have these protections. We all do. And when we share that information with somebody, that's special. And, you have a brand and people the best part about the brand is people feel like they connect it with you. They feel seen, they feel heard, they feel understood. That's my message all the time with communication. You're doing a great job at it. But also, you have a sacred space for your family. So your husband gets to see a side of you that nobody else in the world gets to see.
Yes.
And it's not for anybody else. And you don't need to post that. It's not a public thing. This is our time. And I think that is, first off, I think it's important to have those conversations with your person. If you do have a public brand, I think someone needs to know, like, hey, this is sacred just for you. I won't be sharing this information. And if I feel the need to share something about us, I'll get your permission on that first. I think that having that kind of respect is super important. Haters are going to hate. They're just going to do their thing. And, I try to say, be you in that moment because there's so many options. I'm
Yeah,
totally going in a different direction right now,
that's
but
okay.
there's so many options to handle a hater. So my favorite thing happened the other day. I had a post. This isn't my favorite thing, but my post went viral, and thank you. I love. I'm so grateful, and I love the people that support me. But I had something go viral, and of course, some of the haters pop up. That's what happens, right? So somebody was hating on what I had posted, and you know, I can ignore it. I can block it. People think there's only one way, and we need to remember when we go on the defense, we stop listening. So we have to make sure that we are listening the entire time and listening to ourselves. Like we don't need to listen to the other person at that point. We need to listen to ourselves. How do I want to handle this? Because there are a multitude of options. We can ignore it. We can block it. We can, come back with hate, but hate does not drive out hate. We know this, right? We can come back loving. We can come back defensive. There's all of these different things. So of course I chose humor and loving humor. And honestly, it was hysterical. And they had to like it. They actually liked my comment back to them. And I think that is so wonderful because these people, they really just kind of get off on the fact of being mean or stirring up the pot. Like there are people out there that really, really enjoy that. And I am not judging them. That's their thing, but I don't have to
Engage.
partake. Yeah.
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 Yeah. No, I think that's a good little side note because I know women, especially. I have a lot of women, friends that are online that have large audiences, and they deal with that as well. And, sometimes people can be really, really cruel. You can't control what somebody else is going to do. You can only control what you're going to do, what your
Mhm.
response is. For me, I find these things entertaining, but where I get a little bit like, is how many people get upset. Do I care that some sad person has to make up stories about me? Not particularly. But I do think it's a good moment to explain to people that people who are in the public eye deal with a lot of stuff. Not all of it is true. Just because something optically looks one way doesn't mean that's the thing. And we are allowed to keep our private life private.
Mhm.
And I love that I could keep that private. And the best part is my husband, I talk about my husband all the time on the podcast, My husband is my producer. My husband is the guy who's putting the stuff out there. That's not me.
He does a great job.
He does. He does a
He does
really
a great
great
job.
job. And
Yes.
he's a fabulous editor and he's a really good producer and really kind-hearted person.
Mhm.
And I just when I hear those things, I think about how many people deal with false narratives. And we talk a lot about the narrative. Everything is the story. I mean, my whole platform now is around this calling cut on that story.
Right.
But I do think that for relationships specifically, what you said was beautiful, that you have the conversation with your person to let them know, like, hey, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. How do you feel about that? Or are you comfortable with this? Like my husband, he's not comfortable with certain things. And he's like, no, don't put that picture of me. Don't put that picture of me.
Right.
Whereas, yeah. So I thought that was really, really interesting, but it also shows us where we are in the world. And by the way, congratulations for having your post go viral because that's not easy for people to do, to get it out there far enough. Which platform were you on?
It was on LinkedIn, which I was
Aha. Now,
was
how come
really
I don't
surprised.
get to? Oh, you know what? I have been off LinkedIn. It's since I was on vacation.
Yes, you have.
I'm like, wait a minute.
I know that.
Why don't I get to see all the fun stuff? Um, okay, I'll go hunt it down after and
Okay.
I know. I'm like, and then I forget because of my birthday, I did take a few days to go. And that was
Yes.
great. Being off the grid and being able to connect. This was why I was also happy that you were coming on here, because I know you understand this. I really put my phone away for this one and was super present with my husband, with my child. It was just us, and just being in that space
Mhm.
and just saying to myself, I'm going to enjoy every minute of being here, like feeling myself being present.
Yes, I love that, and I'm so proud of you, and it was funny because I had a feeling that was happening because I had messaged you, I guess, the day before, happy birthday, and then I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, I'm gonna text her," and I was like, "No, she's probably doing something," like, I just vibed it, like, I'm like, "She's doing something special." She doesn't have to answer me, I'll talk to her next week, and, that's what we did,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. And,
yeah,
I never mind. Like, we had really horrible service, but,
right.
I loved getting, messages, and people are really taking the time to say happy birthday and send you messages. And really, I'll tell you, Tia, and this is the part of social that I think is the highlight. Um, it does mean something when somebody takes time, even if it's 5 seconds of their day, to say happy birthday or congratulations, and or any of that. It means something.
Mhm,
And I
definitely.
do think, right? They don't have to, and they certainly, you know, have a million other things going on in their lives, right? But it makes the whole human to human thing. You really start to see where when pare it down, human beings we are little connectors that just kind of want to be all in this space together, but we are told otherwise,
Yeah.
and always putting us in these spots where we're at each other instead of in each other's company and promoting each other. And it's an interesting space, but I was overwhelmed in the best way.
I'm so happy, that's so great. I just don't understand, why people, um try to take others down, and I mean, it's probably been an age-old question. It's probably been around since the dawning of time, right? So, like, we're not gonna solve it here today, but the fact is that I think that a lot of people need to really kinda go inward and focus. When we talk about relationships, a lot of times people are like, well, my needs are not getting met, and we did go through a necessary point. Again, two things can be true. We did go through a necessary point where like women needed to understand that they had needs and wants and desires too, and it wasn't just a man, right? But it's that pendulum swing, people. Like, it doesn't have to be all the way over here and then all the way over there. Like, let it just, like, be nice in the middle there. And so when we can sit there and we can say, all right, I'm going to be others focused. And if my cup isn't getting filled by that, then I know I'm not with the right others. I'm going to move on,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes.
So,
That's a great point. Being with the right others,
yeah.
right? How many of us are not often with the right others? Me, it was notoriously friendships
Mhm.
that I would pick some of the worst people in my past,
Right.
and then keep them past their expiration date. But I knew they had an expiration date because I wasn't vibing. I
Mhm.
realized that it was one sided, and more energy was coming from me than being given to me. And what's so crazy? Relationships are complicated because there's also the transactional bullshit where people will pour into you um specifically to get something from you.
Mhm.
And that's a hard one, especially for heart-centered people, because heart-centered people will fall for that very, very quickly, where somebody is connecting with you because they want to extract from you, but not necessarily be present with you, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And there's a big difference. I mean, I've had people stalking me because they wanted me to pay for their groups. They love bomb you and they're your friend and they have their little, if they have a group, that group then comes at you and everybody supports you and then they don't support you. Forget it. I don't want to have any of this. And what you said happens. So the reason I'm going around the mountain to come through the front door is because
I love it. Bring it.
is because there's two things, right? So one, if we're always living in extremes, we never come to balance.
Correct.
And if we never come to balance, it's like you said, there is no path here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Extremism and extremism. And if you look around, we are sold extremism constantly. And that is by design. The more we go to any extreme on one side or the other, we never make it to that point where one, we can say, as I've said, and now you're saying as well, two things can be true.
Yeah.
Right? My dad said this to me. I said, hey, did you miss me when I was gone? And he's like, I said, wait, I said, did you miss me when I was gone? Or were you happy to be alone? And he goes, well, two things could be true. I missed you and I was also happy to be alone.
Right. Exactly.
It doesn't need to be black and white because nothing is. Nothing is. Everything's gray or colorful or different. And I think the hardest thing we have as people right now is getting back to authenticity.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Well, I think because, with social media, yes, it's, two things can be true. It's evil and it's wonderful. And, so you have both of that, right, going on. And, people have these images where they're really trying to live up to this image, but maybe part of it's true, maybe part of it's not true, maybe none of it's true. It's really, really hard. There's this one guy on social media. He actually, people will send him videos and he like debunks them about workouts. Like he's like, oh, that's a filter. Oh, that's a surgery. That I thought was really a good message because you have especially young women that have body shamed themselves, not just other people body shaming them, but they body shame themselves and they're gonna, basically kill themselves trying to get that look. And that look might not even be possible without going under the knife. And so this guy basically brings light to that. And that I think is a beautiful thing. We are so uncomfortable being ourselves. We talk about the word authenticity and people are like, oh, that's been overstated and overused and all of that stuff. And fine, you don't like the word, let's use a different one. Let's get comfortable with ourselves. That's really the point. If we can, if we can't spend more than 5 minutes in a mirror talking to ourselves, saying nice things, we're doing something wrong. Okay. That's really what it comes down to. You can stare at yourself on a camera on Zoom all day long. You can post some really beautiful filtered images and, look fabulous and, scroll through that and really kind of like admire yourself. But that doesn't feel like it's you. You have to be able to look in the mirror and you have to be able to spend more than 5 minutes saying nice things to yourself. Not mean things, not, oh, where'd that come from? Ooh, like doing that just does not work.
Nope. And it creates more because we create our reality, friends. I hate to say this. And God, everything is such a backwards, twisted everything in this world. But what you're saying, Tia, is so true. Let me get to all the parts of what you just said that I want to address.
Do it.
I agree with you that there is a lot where the people are being misled, who has had surgery on this, who has had surgery on that. And that's dangerous, especially as you said, for young women and men. And, it's we think that men are not affected by it, but they are. They really are. I have male friends that are so self-deprecating and really try so hard to do all of these things. And my heart breaks for them because just like women, it's an attack. Like the dumbest things. Like I have nasolabial folds. I have had these my whole life.
I think all of us have, but whatever.
The gift of beauty. And this is cool because there's a book called Why Worry? It's a Buddhist text that I got from this Buddhist temple up here in New York, actually. It's upstate New York. It says on beauty, and it talks about beauty being a gift that you get over lifetimes of good karma. And beauty has absolutely nothing to do with your body. It has everything to do with your energy. It's energy. It's a gift of beauty comes through you, it's not you. It is so marketed the wrong way. If we spent more time on our soul, on dealing with our shadow, on facing ourselves, and as you said, like looking at yourself for more than 5 minutes and not nitpicking,
Right.
and complimenting, the beauty energy would come through. Also, what you give is what you get, right? So the more beauty you see in others is the more beauty that's then reflected from you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's not a skin thing. It really isn't. That's why, you can see some of the most beautiful people, and then the minute you're in the company, you're like, ooh,
Yeah.
that
Exactly.
energy's not working.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's so important. I love what you're saying because, when we should be the first relationship that we work on, right? And when you have somebody that's usually mean, we're going to just use the word mean. A lot of times they have become that way because they were so insecure at one point in time. Okay. And this is really a fact. And I'm not gonna say at a specific age because some people, they were raised by a really mean parent. So then that insecurity happened at a very, very young age and then brought them into their meanness into adulthood. Then you have people that were just picked on in school. And I think it's wild how people cannot put those school books down. You're in adulthood now and you need to really just become a better person. You're not that same kid, and I guarantee you whatever you were going through back then it wasn't as bad. Not what other people were doing to you, but like what that internal feeling of feeling like imperfect or whatever. I hear it from, I love spending time with people of all ages, and I hear it a lot of times from elderly people. They'll say, you look at that photo from when you were, a kid or 20 or something like that. And you're just like, wow, how beautiful was she? But when I was that 20-year-old, I didn't feel that. And,
Yeah.
why can't we get to that point where we are able to say, I'm beautiful in the skin I'm in today, no matter what age that is?
And that's also that we as women especially have to call cut on this beauty bullshit. Guys, you can spend as much money as you want to change the avatar, but if you don't change the way you see yourself, it will never change. If you don't go deep and find the core wound, because there's always a core wound.
Right.
That one thing, and it's usually, there's like the top 3. I'm not good enough, right? That's usually the one. I don't deserve.
Right.
And I'm never going to be loved or etc. And those top 3 are typically the scripts that we have to consistently rewrite because they're not true. But you said it before, a parent that was mean, a childhood where they were bullied. In the formative years before our brain actually gels, which is at age 25, which people don't understand. 25, friends, is when the brain fully comes together, right? There's a great book called The Teenage Brain, and it really, this is actually to help parents do with teenagers, but
yeah,
it's amazing when you realize the formative years keep going,
yeah.
going. And the powers that be know that. That's why all these things are marketed to younger kids. They're marketed to, when I hear teenagers say, well, I want to use drunk elephant. For what?
Right.
You don't have, right? You're
Baby
gorgeous.
Yeah.
You're the
I
best looking. Unbelievable. Okay. It's not to say that we don't get, some people age better. Like I got better looking as I got older, but
yeah, I feel that
you know,
way.
some people feel, differently. They're like, oh, I peaked at whatever. Okay. We all have our different story around that, but that is the least effort you are ever going to have to put into anything is at 16, 17, 18. Like everything's where it should be,
That's funny.
So,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
we don't enjoy it because society tells us you're not good enough. You're
right.
not pretty enough. It's
Yeah.
reinforcing the wound. And friends, the only way you can get past this is something that Tia said in the beginning, and we've talked about on Call Cut a million times. You have to rewrite the story.
Yes.
You have to be the one to say, kind of like having a nasolabial fold,
Mhm.
I say to myself all the time, the machine may be lower and slower, but it's factory setting. So it's so it's okay. It's going to have different things that look different. You give birth, you get older, your hormones go out of whack, and your hormones go out of whack actually because of liver. Because all the toxins and the stress and the cortisol, by the time you reach the 40s, the body's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We've had so much pollution, water, and then forget if your people like to do recreational anything. These
Right.
things are constantly affecting. And I know you guys aren't going to want to hear this, but Botox gets filtered through, dun, 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 the liver. So your liver is constantly getting taxed. And by the time you turn around and realize it, it's not that you're old. It's not that you're aging. It's that your body it needs to reset. And
Right.
the only way to reset it, you start with your mind and say, okay, how do I get this machine back online?
I always think when we talk about when we talk about age, I'm like, well, let's go back to biblical times, man. They were hundreds of years old and they look better than we do, And seriously, you never know. Time is a man-made thing. Like, who knows what
Yeah,
that time was? But I
that's
do
right.
believe that, because our bodies have to adapt. It's like the microplastics, and we're going
Yeah,
so off communication, but that's okay.
we are.
Like microplastics, and people are like, oh, la, 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 la. And here's the thing. Our bodies are so incredible. They will adapt to this, but something cellular is going to change because of it.
That's
So it's
right.
not going to take us out, but it's something cellular is going to change because of it. And,
Yes.
it already has because it's been around since they got rid of all the glass bottles.
Right.
It's not like all of a sudden this just happened this year. No, this is just when they decided to bring it to us.
Yep.
And, we have to just take good care of our bodies. It really is what it comes down to. And nothing is bad. I feel like I love saying this, like nothing is bad but heroin. Everything else could be done in moderation,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
So you want Botox, get some Botox, fine. Just don't hurt yourself with it. You want broccoli, have some broccoli. Just don't hurt yourself with it.
Yes.
It's really what it comes down to.
An
And,
overload.
if you feel beautiful, that's cool. But if you got people saying, "Hey, it's starting to get a little too much," then maybe you want to talk to somebody professionally about it,
Yeah.
because a lot of times what happens is we do not see what other people see.
Right.
Okay. It started when we were kids and we got that first pimple and we thought you could see it from space. And everybody's like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't even see it. That's really where body dysmorphia really starts to set in. And you don't think body dysmorphia is real. I have to tell you, like, I really was surprised because I realized at one point in time, I was a natural redhead. I was born a redhead. And I've been blonder probably longer than I have been a redhead, right? So, I still can look in the mirror and I can still see red hair though, sometimes. And I think that that's really neat because I then will see a picture and I'm like, wow, my hair's really blonde. And But when I look in that mirror, I'm still seeing that red. And I was like, that's part of that body dysmorphia. We see something and we see it the way that we see it, not the way other people see it. And it goes with everything that we do. We look at the sky is blue. You and I are not seeing the same color blue, but yet we always think that people are going to see what we see. We always think people are going to be like we are. So, again, going around that mountain to come to the front door, we in communication, we will talk to somebody like we think we talk. It's one of those things where I will think that you and I communicate exactly the same way, and this is why there can be a lot of contention that happens. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. We're just not seeing the same color blue, so we have to take the time to see that same color blue.
Yeah, and
Did I
we
do
think
good? I
about
thought that was a pretty good way to come back around.
I loved it. I loved it. I love going around the mountain to come at the front door. It's the best thing ever. But you know what? It's also to say language is a barrier to communication. And that is always been true. We used to do this in exercises as actors where I had this great acting teacher who would say, all right, we're going to take a song and each person is going to get a line of the song and I'm going to give you a scenario. Now, the song has absolutely nothing to do with the scenario. Nothing. But if you ever watch this is the most amazing thing you'll ever see. The words coming out of their mouth do not match the emotion because the emotion has to go with the scenario. So you have to stay in what the scene is actually about. So if he says, you're going to sing Walking on Sunshine, but you guys are in a fight. How do you now use that, right?
Yeah.
It proves that language is absolutely, it doesn't mean anything. We absolutely communicate through our eyes. We communicate through our hearts. We communicate through our bodies. When somebody is upset without them ever talking.
Right. That energy.
We feel everything. So
Yeah.
we do have to be aware of how we are presenting. We do have to be aware of the machine. We have to be in touch with the machine and also know how we are interacting with other people.
I love that. Yeah, it's so true. It is so true. I just was talking about that oh gosh, their names just escape me. But it's like Keegan and Peele. Um the the uh the miscommunication text. And I love this skit because it is so true. It happens. And I feel that it happens to even me. And I am a professional communicator, but like this stuff still happens because all of a sudden you're reading tone in a text message and you think that, you are this mind reader and you get it. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're like setting up for a street fight. And the other one's like, oh, they're so kind thinking about me like that. So it's really amazing to see that. And that I think is one of the biggest problems with like social media is that we are not getting the whole 360 when it comes to communication. We're getting one element, maybe two elements out of it. So social fitness is super important. We need to make time to actually spend with somebody in the same air, in the same, just space where we can feel that energy. Now, thanks to Zoom, we're able to get a little bit closer to that in a world that's so distant. But honestly, if you have the chance, like when I get the chance to either meet my clients on Zoom or in person, if they're close enough, it's in person every time because my gosh, like the what they get from me is totally different. And what I get from them is totally different. And it's magic.
That's energy exchange. And we can exchange energy through the computer, but it is limited.
Right?
It's not the same when the hearts can actually connect. The heart speaks to others through telepathy. Telepathy was taken out of our DNA, but we have retained most of it in our heart. So when you say like, I felt that, or I heard them speaking to my heart, that is absolutely happening. Somebody is speaking to your heart. That is happening. So there's communication happening in all different places. And the problem is we have so much noise. And when we don't tune down the noise or get rid of these storylines, what we do is, even especially on social media, we filter things that people say to us through our own bias. So you had the best example. Somebody's ready to fight. Somebody's like, "Oh, wow, amazing."
Yes.
Because there's no
Yeah.
inflection in a tone. Excuse me. There is no inflection in a text.
Right.
You have no sense of what, a person puts okay, and people are like, "What do they mean by that?"
hmm
Maybe they just mean okay. I got it.
Maybe that's all I
Great.
mean. Exactly.
Right. Or okay, perfect.
Oh
Let's
my
do
gosh,
it.
she's being short with me. Look back, and I challenge people to do this. Look back on the text messages, like go through and see, is that shortness any shorter than what happened when you were full of joy and, oh, I'm so in love, like take a look and compare. Because honestly, if his messages go from, being a novel or a chapter, down to fine, okay, maybe you have something to feel there. But, if you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling like, no, that's usually a you problem in that moment. I'm not saying that it's not, because absolutely hearts can connect. They can connect around the world. That is absolutely true. And science has proven that. So, yes, there could be something's not okay with this person today. But like if all of a sudden you're just in a mood and you feel like they're being short with you, it could just be your problem, not theirs.
Amen, sister. And,
Yeah.
I would take it one step further to say, friends, that 90% of the time it's us. Yes, there is the 10% where you are legitimately picking up somebody's vibe. You are picking up what they're throwing down. Yes. But there's often when we are misinterpreting something because we are either seeing it through the way, our past. We're seeing it told through a story that we've been telling ourselves all the time. If you tell yourself a story that you don't like, you say, "Oh no, people always reject me. People always reject me." You will take a short text,
Yeah.
incredibly differently. My husband every single text from my husband is, "Okay,
Yeah.
all good, love you." That's
Mhm.
it. The guy does not write novels. He just doesn't. And
Right.
this has been since we were dating. Just, "'Kay. Yep.
Mhm.
Sure. Yes. Okay." I mean, look, and I'm like,
Right.
"Okay." Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Our language, the way we communicate is different, but
Okay.
we get each other's heart. That's where I think the heart stuff, and as you said, if you have the choice to go meet somebody in person, you're going to go do it. I like that as well. And I think that the more we start to peel the layers away from the stigma around communicating, and the more we really sit with ourselves and see, like, what is our story? What is our bias versus what is actually happening between us
Mhm.
and another person? I think that we are going to start to clear the way for better communications between people in general.
Right. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
and let me add in there really quick, you
Yeah.
know, um, be open and honest too if something bothers you in communication with the other person, and pick a time when you're not bothered by it. That's a really big one. But let's just say you said "okay" and then "K," right? Now, some people might translate "K" as attitude, like, everything's usually okay, but he just K'd me this time. Like, what's his problem? If you don't like K, then say to the person, hey, I know you probably don't mean anything, but I always go on the defense when you write K. Can you take the extra millisecond and put the O in front of that? And I'll be fine. You can do that. That's communication. That is assuring that you're setting both of you up for success instead of failure. If you know that something is going to trigger you, make sure that you are letting it out, not in a way like, oh, I'm so triggered. You got, again, it's how we do it. When you tell somebody don't think of an elephant, what's the first thing that they're going to think? Right? An
Elephant.
elephant. So if you say, hey, don't trigger me with writing K, guess what they're going to write? They're going to write K. It's going to happen. every freaking time. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, they're doing it on purpose. No, they're not doing it on purpose. It's because the human brain really has a hard time deciphering that don't,
Ah,
it
yep.
really has trouble processing can't, won't, don't, all the
Sure.
NTs. So let's make sure that we are communicating in a positive way of, hey, I respond better when you write okay instead of K. Can you take that time to put the O in front of the K? And somebody's going to say, I didn't know it was a big deal. I will make sure I don't do it.
Amen, sister. See, you've given us all these beautiful little nuggets. I'm so happy that you were able to come back. And as usual, everything goes by so quickly when we're talking, and we're back at the point of no return,
Yes.
where my beautiful friend has to go on to her next thing. But Tia, tell everyone again where they can find you.
Oh, I thank you. First off, thank you for having me today. This was so
Yes.
awesome. And I love being on your show.
I love having you.
And I will come on anytime again. You want
Yeah,
me to.
I'm going to be like, Tia, hi.
Anytime.
Let's go for
Anytime.
lucky number 3.
That's right. Oh, so they can find me on LinkedIn, Tia Cristy, Cristy, no H people. But yes, tips from Tia. Also, everything on social media is tips from Tia, one word. And hit me up with a DM if you got a question. I love answering questions. And also, if you're trying to communicate better, we can talk about what that looks like for you. So I love helping people. You know that.
Yes. And she's a genuine soul friend. So please connect with Tia, especially if you have communication issues. This way we can all elevate together. The only way to elevate is if we can communicate. So we
Love
have
that.
to rise. Tia, thank you again for being on Call Cut with Angélique. I love your energy. I love your heart. I so appreciate all these beautiful tips that you give to people. You are so giving of yourself, so giving of your time, and so incredibly wise. Thank you. We hope to see you again, and we're always following your journey. Now I have to go look at your viral post.
Yay! Thank you. Love you.
Thank you so much for joining me on Call Cut with Angélique. New episodes drop every Friday. If you like this content, please subscribe, like, share with your friends. And remember, folks, no matter what life gives you, you must always keep shining.